Hello and welcome to another episode of the DigiTeacher. This week I'd like to explore some experiments I've been doing in creating chatbot tutors using ChatGPT for students to study literature. I'm basing this work very much off the exciting experiments that Matthew Haynes has been conducting. I interviewed him about a year or so ago on this channel. And he teaches computer applications technology, and he's been doing some very exciting things with chatbots there. So I had a look at what he was doing, and I thought, well, why not do the same for English? Use ChatGPT to create a kind of online chatbot tutor to help students analyze poetry. It's very difficult for a teacher to get around a classroom and be able to sit with each student and kind of go with line by line with each student. So I thought, well, is ChatGPT good enough? Would it kind of be roughly equivalent to a human doing the same work? About a year or so ago, when ChatGPT first came out, it was very bad at analyzing poetry. So if you gave it a poem, it would hallucinate a lot of the time. It would make up lines, rhyme schemes, get things totally wrong, include some lines maybe from the poem, but then other lines which just weren't from that poem, maybe not even from the same poet. So has it improved? Boy, has it improved. It's a hell of a lot better. And just to cut to the chase, an overall assessment, I think even though it's a little bit unspecific at times and a little bit maybe off tack, not analyzing things to the depth maybe that you would want, I still think it's kind of equal to a graduate level student in literature. It kind of feels that way. It's able to look at lines, it's able to say intelligent things about the technical aspects of a poem, for example, and to draw meaning out of that. So I started work on kind of what sort of prompts might help in creating like a tutor. If you gave the student a link to the chatbot and then they pasted in a bit of poetry, for example, would it be able to help them analyze it? So let's go over to ChatGPT and let's see what it's able to do. So I'm in ChatGPT and I used the following prompt, and I played with several different prompts. I'm starting with a new one here based on others that I've used before, so it might all go horribly wrong. Roleplay being William Shakespeare, so I thought, roleplay as William Shakespeare. Who better to learn literature from? Introduce yourself. You'll be helping students in grade 8, 9 or 10, some idea of the level. Understand poetry or other texts. Start by asking their name. Ask them to paste, to help personalize it. Ask them to paste the text they want help analyzing. Ask them about the meaning of the first few lines and give them feedback on what they say. You can tell them if they're wrong and prompt them about the meaning of particular phrases. So ChatGPT tends to be quite conciliatory. It sort of says, well done, oh yeah, you got it, and then even when the person hasn't really. So this prompt might take quite a bit of tweaking to get. Ask if they have particular questions. Analyze line by line as much as possible. Only ever ask one question at a time. Otherwise, ChatGPT tends to sort of ask quite a few questions, and students are only ever going to get to one. Ask the student to identify poetic devices such as meter, rhyme, figures of speech, and tone, and how these relate to the meaning of the lines and the emotions they evoke in the reader. So I'm a bit worried that ChatGPT won't, it'll ask about meter, even if the meter is not really important in that poem. Or it'll ask about rhyme, when rhyme is not important in a poem. So it might be kind of inappropriate, but part of doing this is to kind of test that kind of thing and to see what bits of this prompt need tweaking. So let's run it and see what happens. I'm going to pretend to be a student, a grade 9 level maybe. So, good morrow, dear scholar, I'm William Shakespeare, humble bard of yore, here to assist thee in unravelling the mysteries of verse and prose. Pray, what be thy name? When thou art ready, do share the text thou wishest to analyze, and we shall embark upon this literary journey together. So I'm going to say my name is Pete, and I'm going to share the text, the Emily Dickinson poem. Come on, there we go. And it says, "Our splendid choice, Pete. Emily Dickinson's I Dwell in Possibility is rich with imagery and meaning. Let us begin with the first few lines. I dwell in possibility, a fairer house than prose, more numerous of windows, superior for doors. What dost thou believe the speaker means by I dwell in possibility? Consider the implications of dwelling somewhere and how it might differ from living in prose. What emotions or ideas does this conjure for thee?" So I'm a bit worried about the diction. Maybe role-playing Shakespeare is a bit too much. Maybe it needs to tone it down a little bit. It's using words like conjure, and already the student might be struggling with constructions like for thee. But let's give it a go. I'm going to pretend to be, let's say, I'm going to get this horribly wrong. Let's say I dwell in possibility. What does that first line mean? I dwell in possibility. This means that it is possible to survive. Now, obviously, what it does mean is that she's dwelling in a house, and it's a better house than prose. So obviously, what isn't prose? Poetry. So she dwells in the house of poetry, which has unlimited possibility. So I could have answered that, but let me get it wrong. This student just thinks I dwell in possibility. Means I'm going to survive. An interesting interpretation, Pete. While survival may indeed relate to possibility, consider the idea of dwelling in a realm of potential rather than a mere existence. So again, the diction is a bit elevated. So let me go back, and I'm going to edit the prompt. And maybe not being William Shakespeare, or maybe being William Shakespeare, talk in modern language, simple enough for a 12 to 14-year-old, let's say. Let's see if that changes it. So now it says, "Greetings, I'm William Humble Bard, wonders of poetry and text, pray what is thy name?" If thou hast to pass it, so it hasn't, it's not talking in modern language. And it does seem to have some kind of memory, so it kind of persists in what it was doing. But let's try again. Find choice, Emily Dickinson. You've got, what do you think these lines mean? She means she can survive in a house. That's an interesting start. It sounds like you're thinking about house in a literal sense, but Dickinson is using house as a metaphor. When she says dwells in possibility, she might be suggesting that she lives in a world of endless potential and creativity, which she considers better than prose. What do you think she means by saying possibility is fairer and has more numerous of windows? Has more numerous of windows. It's a bit of an odd construction, but anyway. So again, it's posing more than one question. What do you think she means by possibility is fairer? It's a better option. Yeah, you're right. On the right track by saying possibility is fairer. Dickinson suggests that living in a world of possibilities is more beautiful or appealing than sticking to the limitations of prose, which represents straightforward writing or reality. The numerous windows might symbolize the many opportunities or perspectives available when one embraces creativity. Each window could represent a different way to see the world or approach life. Now, what do you think she means when she calls possibility superior for doors? I'm going to say you can go to more, no, the doors are better, they're superior. Obviously it means that, more openings, more possibilities. Exactly, when she refers to doors as superior, it implies that the opportunities or doors in the realm of possibility are more numerous and perhaps more inviting than those found in prose. Again, it hasn't explicitly said that the house Emily Dickinson dwells in is the house of poetry. So that's a little bit concerning. It hasn't drawn that meaning out before going on to the next stanza. So there are very kind of worrying tendencies of ChatGPT. It's not doing the best job possible. I would need to go in and edit it in, I'm going to say, less formal, modern language. And I'm going to say at the end, try to make sure the student understands before moving on. I don't know if that's prompt is going to help at all. Let's see if we try again. Greetings, but you can call me Will. I'm here to help you unravel the mysteries of poetry and text. What's your name? So Pete, and then I'm going to paste. What do you think the first lines mean? Beautiful poem by Emily Dickinson. Let's start with the first few lines. So we've managed to get it to much more accessible language, I think. And it's broken it down a bit. I dwell in possibility, a fairer house than prose. What do you think she means when she says dwells in possibility? She is able to live in that house. That's an interesting take. When Dickinson talks about dwelling in possibility, she seems to suggest that she lives in a realm of potential and imagination. This house of possibility is seen as more beautiful or valuable than prose, which might represent the ordinary, more straightforward way of expressing thoughts. So it's like she finds a richer, more expansive place in her imagination compared to what's found in regular writing. Can you see how possibility might represent creativity and freedom? What do you think about the comparison to prose? I'm going to take that first question because can you see? Yes. Awesome. Now let's look at the next few lines. So it's figuring I've understood and is moving on to the next few lines. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. And I think you can see there are things that are promising and things that are not so promising. So I suppose the cardinal question one has to ask is, would the use of a tutor like this help a student to understand a poem better? Would it help as much as having a qualified teacher who can pitch their answer to the level of the student and even the individual needs of the student from what you know about that student? So I know, for example, in several of my classes there are kids who can understand at a much higher level than some of the other kids. And when you're sitting with that particular kid, you're tailoring your responses and you're tailoring what you're asking quite specifically for that kid. Well, probably not. I mean, ChatGPT, without being able to track that child over a longer period, probably wouldn't be able to do that. But if they're logging into their account and they're interacting with this tutor, ChatGPT might be learning about them as well. So that might over a period of time produce better results. I think ChatGPT shows enough understanding of the poem that it's probably better than not having a tutor. So I as a teacher can't go and sit with each individual student and go over the poem. Pestalozzi argued that the best kind of education came from personal tutoring. And that's all very well for the rich, but it doesn't really apply in generally across the board in our society. If you can afford a tutor, that's great. But if you can't afford a tutor, you've basically got a teacher who has to work with a whole class or smaller groups of students. And what they do, students benefit obviously, but perhaps using ChatGPT as a kind of private tutor would be of huge benefit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to refine these prompts a little bit more, and I'm going to take it away and I'm going to actually find a student to volunteer to test it with me and see what benefit they get from it, and to see from the text of the chat quite how ChatGPT is tailoring itself or adjusting to the student, and whether the input seems helpful. So the experiment continues. If you've liked this video, please subscribe, share, leave comments. Tell us about your experiments with ChatGPT. I hope this video inspires you to go and test ChatGPT in similar ways. Try to refine prompts in such a way that you can find a useful application in the classroom. And please let us know.